on belief to have the very first that we know of virtual International Women's Day celebration kickoff. And it's in partnership with Military Family Services, Canadian Military Family Magazine, and Prince Edward Island Military Family Resource Center. My name is Margaret McKenzie, and I'm going to be the producer for this session today, where we have three phenomenal guest speakers who are powerful and who are really strong women in their own right. So what I'm going to start with today is a little tour. First off, can you give me a green check if you've been in a virtual classroom before, and a red X if you have not, or if you can't find the, just give me a green check. If you can't find the red X, then I'll know. Okay, good. So we have quite a few people. It's quite a mixture. Fantastic. And you were able to find the red X. That's great, Mary and Vicki. Awesome. So what I'm going to do, just keep sipping your virtual tea. Enjoy it. It's nice and warm, and it's soothing for your heart and your soul. And I'm going to give you a brief tour of our virtual classroom. So on the right-hand side, you're going to see the participant panel. This is where we see everybody who's logged in. We'll see all the names of who's here. You'll see that I have a blue and green ball, which gives me some kind of privileges. It means it's like I'm having the remote control, so I can share things and I could do more as a presenter with the blue and green ball. Also in the participant panel is where you can mute and unmute your microphone by clicking to the left of your name. There's a little picture of an icon, and it looks like a microphone. It's right here, and it's a toggle. So if you click on it once, it will mute your microphone. If you click on it again, it will unmute. So for the most part, we do try to have people not muted during the session, but if there's background noise, we can tell by the green line beside the name, their headset. So we will ask you to mute if that's a question, if we're hearing background noise. So the other part that we've seen already is the green check and the red X. So if we have any yes or no questions, the presenters may say to you, give me a green check if you can relate to this, or a red X if you cannot. And we've seen how that works. So, and those are toggles again. So let's just try it out. Give me a green check if you have a pet, a red X if you do not. Do you have a pet? You do. This is a great way to engage participants. So let's see now. Julie. Oh, you don't know. Sorry, Heidi. Do you have it? What kind of pet do you have?
I have a border collie.
You sound really far, Julie. Or Heidi. You sound really far. I'll check your audio. So she has a border collie. And another way to engage participants throughout the presentation, if you want to raise your hand, it's the toggle again. You just click on the little hand icon. And let's just try that. So if you have any questions during the session, that's one way that you can ask your questions, is by clicking on the hand. And to lower your hand so your arm doesn't get too tired, just click on it again and it will lower your hand. We encourage you also to share how you're feeling by using the emoticons in the session, so the little happy face. If you click on the drop-down menu, you'll have all kinds of different emoticons that you can share with us. If one of the presenters says something that surprises you, you can put on the surprise face. And we do ask you that if you have to leave the session for any reason, to please put up your coffee cup. Because that will tell us that you're stepped away for the session and you're not having troubleshooting issues. So if you just put your coffee cup up for a second so I know that you found it. Great. Just put your coffee cup up and then, very good. Thank you. So if you ever have to leave the session, just put your coffee cup up and mute your microphone. So if you can now put your coffee cup down by clicking on it one more time. Fantastic. Awesome. Tracy, Vicki, you're able to put your coffee cups down? All right, and the last part that I'm going to share with you before we get into the presentation today is the chat. So in a live classroom, we would kind of ask people not to be chatting back and forth. It's a little distracting, but in a virtual classroom, we actually encourage it because this is a great way for us to hear your comments, hear your questions. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat. Comments, questions, thoughts, anything that comes to mind as you're listening to the speakers. So let's just test out the chat. Why don't you chat with me your favorite movie? to all participants. Make sure it goes to all participants in the bottom of the right-hand corner of your screen. Yeah, classic. Actually, the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. I don't know that one. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Forrest Gump. You should copy these because sometimes I forget. The Pursuit of Happiness. That's a beautiful movie, Judy. That's one I could watch 3 or 4 times over again. There aren't many like that, but that's certainly one of them. The Sound of Music. Oh yes. Opportunity to go to Austria after university, and we went to the Sound of Music tour, and we watched this movie probably 3 or 4 times. Anything by John Hughes, My Fair Lady. Wonderful. So this just gives you a great idea of how interactive it can be. As the producer, I'm going to be monitoring the chat and bringing up questions at a proper time during the session. But for right now, I'm going to take my camera off. So, and I'm going to move my coffee cup, and we're going to start the session. So I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for the turnout. To start with, I'd like to introduce Vicki Morrison, who is our MC for tonight. And Vicki is a former executive director at 14 Wing Military Family Resource Center, which is in Greenwood. And, you know, as a military spouse with more than 27 years under her belt of experience, you have to reinvent yourself so many times. And so Vicki reinvented herself as a writer when her husband was posted to Ottawa. So I could just see a big W on your chest, like you're a super writer, you know, a superpower. So Vicki, I'm really thankful to have you here today, and thank you for being our Master of Ceremonies for this event. And I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I am thrilled to be here, and once again, Military Family Services, we're so pleased to be able to work with our partners, the PEI, MFRC, and with Canadian Military Family Magazine. This is an incredible event, and you've put so much work into it. It's just an amazing opportunity. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself before we begin. As Margaret said, I'm a military spouse of 27 years. I met my husband in high school, and we fell madly in love. Decided to run off to university together. He promptly dropped out of university and joined the military. Isn't that great? And so we were sort of progressing with the whole military career, and he said, oh, I've got my commission, and I'm going to be gone for 5 years. See you later, and off he went, and isn't that great? And then he said, you know, we're going to see the world. We're going to go all over the world because I'm in the military. And, you know, we ended up in Greenwood for 20 years, and we were never posted until we moved to Ottawa. So it's, yeah.
Can I ask people to mute their microphone because I'm hearing quite a bit of background noise? Thank you.
Got it?
Got it. Yes. So
okay. Very good.
We lost you at you know, you wanted to see the world, and you spent how long in Greenwood?
That was my dream, and that didn't really happen, I'm afraid. We stayed in Greenwood for 20 years, but then we came to Ottawa, and with our 3 kids, and I got started with writing, reinvented myself, started with writing, and made my way into working with Military Family Services, which is a great honor and a privilege because I am a passionate advocate for military families, and this gives me a great opportunity to do the work that I love. So, again, thank you everyone for coming, and this is just a fantastic opportunity for all of us to get together and across the country and beyond to meet in this virtual way and celebrate. And I should give you a little bit of background about International Women's Day. So just a little bit. It was observed on March 19th in 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. In 1977, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed a day for women's rights and international peace. And shortly after that, Canada chose March 8th as our International Women's Day. So the theme this year is empowerment here in Canada. Internationally, it's parity or equality for women. And I should also mention, I'm going to be live tweeting throughout this entire event. So if you are part of the Twitter sphere, if you would like to tweet along with me, it's hashtag IWD2016. We would love to have you join us on Twitter. So tonight, or today, we have the privilege of hearing from three fantastic women who followed their passions to achieve their ambitions, and they're all respected in their various fields, one in publishing, one in entertainment, and one in politics. Their common thread, of course, is they're all part of our amazing Canadian military community. Their journeys weren't easy, not at all, and maybe that's what makes their stories so inspiring and frankly at times quite hilarious as well. There are some funny stories to be told about being a military spouse and being part of this military community. So a conversation with each of them really is the perfect way for us to kick off the 2016 International Women's Day. And if you thought that throughout this presentation or these presentations, you were going to just be sitting and sipping your cup of tea or whatever you're sipping, that's not going to happen. There are some activities Margaret has planned for you. You're going to be kept busy and very much engaged. So pay very close attention because you never know when you're going to be called on.
Vicki, I have one other question for you just before we get started.
Sure.
What is your handle? What is your Twitter handle?
Twitter handle. Well, tonight I'm not tweeting from my personal account. So I'm tweeting from the Military Family Services account, and that is at MFRC-PEI. So go look for Military Family Services, and you will find us.
Thank you. And it's
not a problem.
It's hashtag IWD2016.
You got it. That is it. And that's a national and international piece. There are people all over the world hosting events tonight and tomorrow. There were things going on even today, and they're using that hashtag. So we're part of something really amazing tonight, really, really amazing. So I guess it's time to meet our friend Cindy Mills. Over the past 23 years, Cindy's had the opportunity to move around the country, not that I'm jealous or anything, with her husband, Scott, a combat engineer, and their 4 beautiful kids. And so she's lived in Chilliwack, Edmonton, London, and Petawawa. Cindy believes, as retired General Walter Natinchuk says, home is where the dog is. So Cindy stumbled into the world of journalism by accident. She was looking for a career to give her some sort of flexibility to work from home so she could be with her 4 kids and still support her husband Scott's military career as well. So Cindy is also, I should mention, a military parent. She has 2 children who are now in the CAF. She created Canadian Military Family Magazine, a lifestyle magazine for military families, to tell our community stories, to get our messages out there, and to share articles that are relevant to Canadian Armed Forces families. Cindy's eternally grateful to her family because of their continued support and belief in the magazine. And her family shares their home with an Old English sheepdog and 5 cats, no less than 5 cats. So thank you so much, Cindy, for coming to join us today. I'm going to pass the video over to you, and thank you again.
Cindy, I'm going to pass you the ball so you can change your own slides, okay?
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know how to do that, but okay, I am now.
So you see the 04 in the middle of the screen, and then there's a triangle to the right of it. You just click on that triangle.
Okay.
Everything you see, we will see.
You'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
So am I on?
You are. Welcome.
Can you see me? Can you see me now? First, you know what? My Siri just turned on, and we have a ongoing relationship, Siri, the phone, and I. Anyhow. First, I want to thank Margaret and MFS for letting us be part of this, and more importantly, thank you to Laura Earl for participating. and also Karen McCrimmon. So that's, they were very, when I called up, like, will you please participate? They were very generous and giving their time to do this. And they're two people that I really have a lot of respect for, and I've known Laura for a few years on and off now, and I've seen her show, both of her shows. So I really encourage when you guys are out to go and watch that. Anyhow, so I'm glad it's empowerment, because I was looking at parity today, and I've been 2 weeks, I've been going, parity, this is what this is about. And parity is the state or condition of being equal regarding status or pay. And I think we're having a conversation, Michelle and I are down in Toronto today and tomorrow, and then again on Tuesday, heading back on Wednesday. And we were down in London this afternoon, where we lived there for 5 years as a military family. And if you see the picture there, that's my dear friend Karina. She was actually my neighbor, and she's not military. And what is wonderful is the camaraderie women can have, and I'm going to come back to that. So you have parity and equality with pay and status. I'm a big fan of Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'm sad he passed away, but I have all of his CDs. Literally, I bought them all when they were 90% off, and listen to them continually, because he has such a great message when it comes to treating people and not getting caught up in the events that are going on around us, but to be still and to be silent. And that is something this magazine has completely taught me. So I'm going to go back a few years when I came up with the idea of the magazine. I really believed naively that this would be super easy. I really thought, start a magazine, sure, you can do that. That's just like that. That is not true. It took a bit of time to catch on. I know when we started, people were like, in the beginning, who do you think you are? And the one thing that Margaret Atwood said in going to journalism school was simply this: if you're going to be a writer, have a very thick skin. I'm going to add on to that. You really need to have a thick skin to some extent in life. Things are going to happen, and you to not take them personally. And that's probably been the most difficult thing, but the best thing I've learned on this journey with the magazine. So starting the magazine was, I started my career in London. So the photo that you see there is Karina, and she was my neighbor. We went out for lunch today. We have not seen each other in 9 years. And you know what? It's like nothing really has changed. And the power of women, when we have those relationships in our lives, I mean, we can move mountains. When you have a team of women and you are, oh, I've got my team going on my thing. Anyways, empowering each other to strive to be better. There's nothing that moves mountains. I'm going to go back. So starting the magazine, we, in 2009, I just thought I came up with an idea, and then we found a great team that got together, and a lot of volunteers, and there's still a lot of volunteers with the magazine today. When it comes to the writers, they generously give their time as we try to get advertising for it. But it's that, I think it's that need that women have to give, and I think that's really what helps with the magazine. It's a team of women that create this. And we have men, so I don't want to exclude men, but it's lifting us up to create something that is very great to read, I think, anyway. I'm kind of trying to go all over the place. I'm just going to try to stop for a second. What have I learned? In the beginning, I think without having a thick skin, it's taking a lot of stuff personally and a lot of hurt feelings. And really, there were times I would go to bed and I would stay there for hours and have headaches in the beginning because I couldn't understand why people couldn't understand the concept of why this would be such a great a necessity for military families. And I remember reading somewhere where I believe it was Lincoln that did the same thing, where he would go to bed over just depression. And I thought, you know, that's okay. I think as women, we need to accept where we're at the time, and just quit beating ourselves up, you know, to feel what we need to feel and move forward. And a lot of the times it takes to have a great group of friends, and it might be 2, it might be 3, it doesn't have to be a whole it doesn't have to be a whole big group, but you have those friends that just are there to listen and to be there and to support in what you're doing. And I had that. I had several different, whether they're part of our team and putting together the magazine, whether sometimes there's crises and you need people that are going to stand by you and need to do that. And to not engage in, you know, there's a lot of problems in the world, and there's parity when you come to status and pay. I'm getting a lot of feedback, Michelle, with your computer. We're in the same house, so I can hear myself. It's kind of weird. The status and pay, Wayne Dyer, as I was kind of on that thing, there's different levels when it comes to, I guess, being. There's the warrior level, there's the athlete level, and there's the statesman. And I think inherently women are born. We're not, that you have your athletes and you have your warriors. There's nothing wrong with that. I think women are very humble people typically, and we give. We just give. When you look at our MFRCs, there's a lot of women, and they're giving a lot of their time, their traits, their skills, their volunteering, whether it's with babysitting or with events, and we're givers. We have children and we nurture them. We raise them. We're there for them. We're there for them when they're sick. And we look at military families with the spouses. I mean, we're there for them when our husbands are gone. I mean, as a combat engineer's wife who has been away quite a lot, we've been almost away now, going to school and such for the last 4 or 5 years, we give. And I think there can be the point where we give. I mean, how many people have been on deployments? How many people have had to carry the whole load for over, and it's just, you know, and whether it's a night or whether it's like 6 months or any of those. Do you want to show your hands of how many of us have, or put your check mark? That's good. Do a check mark. Hands, check mark, both, of living with the deployments. And as a military spouse, I know you rely on people. You rely on your friends, especially to get you through that.
Now, Cindy?
Yeah?
One other point is deployment is not only deployment in Afghanistan, it's also a leave when they go on IR. How many families have been on IR?
So let's just, deployment to me is defined when you are like carrying the load. So whether your husband is on IR, your husband or spouse, it could be whatever, your partner is away on course. Or family member, yeah, if you're counting on the person to be there. I count it all as a deployment. I don't think there's, and I think in the military we kind of need to, listen, it's tough whether your spouse is in Afghanistan or in Gagetown, because when the furnace breaks, you're still in the same predicament. You might have a little less stress if they are in just on course, but still, I mean, it's a tough, and that happened to me, so I can honestly, he was in Afghanistan, but listen, there was no less freaking out when he was in Afghanistan than the time I got stuck on base Petawawa in a snow, and you gotta understand I'm from Vancouver, in a snowbank, and the only thing I could think to do is to phone him up on his cell phone, and he was in St. John. I don't know what I thought he was gonna do for me, but just to yell at him and really loud. And I don't know why. I just, if I look at it, experience has taught me, don't do that anymore. All I need to do is call BCAA or find a solution. And I think because we've been together for so long, since we were 22, I just kind of thought he would fix things for me. And when we moved to Petawawa, there's been very little of Scott fixing things for me. It's more of I've had to, again, rely on other women to be there and to help me, and we really, I think, in the military community, and I think, you know, in the Air Force they have wingmen, in the Army it's fire team partner, and I don't know very much about the Navy, so if somebody knows what they call those, that would be wonderful, but you always have a partner. You always have somebody who's going to look after you. So anyways, I used to be that person, and in the last little while, especially with the magazine, and you're running a team, it's been a tough lesson, but to not engage and to know that every solution, every problem that comes, there's an absolute solution. That is what this magazine and working has taught me today, is to not get all caught up in the problem, but to move through the problem and know, without a doubt, there is a solution. I just have to not get frazzled in the issue, but more fixed of what I need to seek the solution. What is this? And I mean, with the Army run, we went there last year without magazines. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And there was a mix-up with the printer, which will not happen again. And instead of getting, typical Cindy would get angry and curse, and what is that going to get me today? What will that kind of energy give me? And I'm going to tell you, nothing. It'll just get people upset and get my blood pressure totally through the roof. So we just went to the Army run, and it worked out fine. And all the magazines were distributed in different venues, and it worked out absolutely okay. But it's sometimes just getting women together, getting my team together and going, okay, how are we going to get to this solution? What is the solution here? We're going to brainstorm. We're going to see how that is. So back to women and statesmen, and I'm going to choke here, being really, really humble. I think it's a gift. And I think we have it, and I think kindness matters. And sometimes, and I've been there telling a general off, kind of not of late, just want to let you know that. That was when I was like really super young and like 25 and moved to Edmonton. My husband was there for 5 weeks and then gone for 18 months, and I had 2 little kids, and I was pretty angry about the whole situation. So I thought I'd vent my anger at other people, and that, I'm just going to say, it doesn't work. It does not work. And my husband will say, you know, isn't that the guy that you told off when he was a colonel? And I'm like, what? Hopefully he doesn't remember me. That's the lesson, I guess, being a military spouse has taught me, is to not, don't get confined by what you think the problem is, but just know that there's a solution. And relying on my friends and other military spouses to help us. Now, this is a picture of, and I've got 2 children in the military right now. So my husband's he just commissioned, he's just finishing school this year, and Madeline's a logistics officer in the Air Force, and Evan's at RMC currently. So he's second-year engineering and having he's, you know, again, you have to support them. So I have 3 of them I have to support, but that's fine. It works out pretty good. And those are my 2 younger kids, Delaney and Connor. And we're trying to talk them into RMC too, because then that means I will not have to pay very much money for education at all. The magazine came about reading a CTV newsfeed. It was back in 2007, and there was a fatality in Afghanistan. And I think we had 4 people that were killed that day, and I was reading the bottom of the news feeds, and I remember there was a sister, and her brother had served in Afghanistan, and he had been a reservist. So at that time, there was limited support for reservists, and that was some of the concerns. If you talk to some of the warrant officers and stuff, it was a serious concern, because they would come home and then have to go back to their units that really did not have what they needed for the mental, to integrate back into the community. Anyways, this reservist ended up, he was home for a year, and then he ended up killing himself. And I was completely mortified. I'm just thinking, I can't, that would just be horrific. And that's when the idea of the magazine came out, of we need to have a magazine for military families so that it has resources in it for family members to learn or to read about and to know where to go to get help. I don't know if we've covered that enough in the magazine, but we really try to make an effort to make sure it's in there for them. So that they can read about it. But again, it comes down to women, just supporting women and empowering each other. And I think that's what we really need in our community. And it's there. I've seen it so many times. And I know for me moving forward, it's just giving kindness, trying to be kind and not engaging. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Cindy. That's fantastic and very inspirational. So let's go ahead with some questions, folks. Please raise your hand if you have a question for Cindy or chat one in.
Questions, we're taking comments as well. This is your opportunity. Do you have ideas about the magazine? So many people are so proud of what you've brought to our community.
So Joanna has asked the greatest challenge you face in starting something from scratch.
The greatest challenge is probably the funding is huge, for the magazine, the hardest part was trying to sell something that you completely believed in, but felt like you have to understand every issue that comes out. I see every single mistake, and then that's what I grade it. And that's women too, right? We look at the worst rather than celebrate the success, where this should be this should be like this, or we criticize rather than celebrate the successes. So overcoming it was having complete faith that I kind of knew what we were doing, because I had no idea. The most I had ever done was write for magazines and newspapers. And you had to balance out the advertising section portion of it along with the editorial content. And then the editorial content has to be within such a parameter when it's Canadian, and there has to be so many pages of content versus pages of advertising. And it was funding and then just finding the right balance for the magazine and getting advertising. That is a huge, it's coming and it's been slow, but to prove to people that this is a viable resource for military families.
So networking has been very important then.
Totally, it's all about networking, getting out there and selling yourself. And I think there's some women that can totally do that, and I'm not one of them. So that's been the challenge. And Michelle's laughing out loud.
That's a great question. Any other questions? All right.
I saw a comment about having young people on the cover of the magazine, so you might want to comment on the newest cover, which is very beautiful, and congratulations, by the way.
Yes, so we have our first child on the cover of this issue, and that would be Lieutenant General Whitecross's grandson is on the cover, along with her and her husband, Ian. And that's been the challenge. There's also a stigma with the Canadian military. And because we're immersed in the community, you don't really, a tank drives down the street, a LAV, I should say, drives down my road in Petawawa. It's not a really big deal, right? Or you have Chinooks flying overhead all the time. Like, if it was probably somebody who didn't know the military community, they might think we're under attack a lot, but we're really not. It's outside of the community. They're kind of like, we're for war and we shoot animals and we're, I guess, inherently violent and we all own guns. And I'm kind of like, no, I don't think so. I actually wanted to do a poll of how many people own guns in the Canadian military, but then I thought that wouldn't be a good idea. So it's selling that we're not that way. Like we're literally trying to sell, we're not even selling, we're trying to educate people that, no, we don't all kill animals. And I ran into some people that thought we all killed coyotes and wolves. And I'm like, nope. I think we all, you have your families that don't look after their pets, but overall, generally, I meet a lot of military families that love their animals. We love animals, and I think we love animals because that's our home. When you move, that's the one thing that continues you take with you is your animals in your house. And so again, we're not all about war and I mean, I love peace. I'm like your Birkenstock hug a tree from the left coast. You know, so when they're saying I own a gun, I'm like, no, don't own a gun, and I don't kill animals. I don't even kill spiders. So that's been a huge hurdle is telling people that that's not our community. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Dogs are totally, I mean, our Annabelle is just, I should have put it, oh, there she is in the front there, our little
Yeah,
dog.
Annabelle's there.
Annabelle's there, and she's like our total, yeah, they're our family, so that's great. But young people, again, it's hard trying to find it. So we tried to ask Brian that, like, there's a lot of military brats out there. And it's kind of like you have to write this really long email to say, you know, this is what we are, and no, kind of you got to word it in the way that no, we're not for gun whatever, and that's been a hurdle also is to kind of sell people on the military community. And then there's some that just jump on board because they get it. So finding young people, if anybody has an idea of a military, you know, brat or a military member that would be a great cover piece, I mean, we're open to hearing about it, absolutely.
To be a military youth, really, they're so resilient, and they've, you know, my kids were in 9 different schools from the time they finished grade 12, and it's just incredible how they grow and they shine in spite of us sometimes.
Well, what's really interesting is on our website is the profiles. I mean, I think we really want to read about, and I don't want to, for lack of a better word, because I don't think it's success stories. I just think it's people who have taken what they have chosen as their journey and overcome the obstacles to make it a memorable journey for themselves. And other members of our community love that. They really do.
Michelle, you're saying send me your suggestions. Can you just chime in and share a little bit about what your role is?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm Cindy's assistant. So when Cindy is going to events and going out into the community, and she comes up with a whole bunch of great ideas, I'm behind her, taking notes of all of her great ideas, so we could talk about them later. I became part of Cindy's team a year ago, and Cindy is my person. I was a very bitter military wife for a lot of years, and she helped or continues to help me out quite a bit. So it's a really fantastic friendship that I have with her. She's also helped me with my kids, most specifically with my son Cameron, who Margaret has met. And Cameron has, you know, he's experienced different things as a military brat, if you will. So she's helped me with that. But with Cindy, I am there we are staying at, keeping it as a very positive thing, because that's what we think the community as a whole, to bring it back together, that we all support each other, no matter if you are in Victoria, BC, or if you're in PEI, together like this, through this virtual program and through the magazine, and of course our website, and of course MFS and everything else that's out there. It's just to let everybody know everything that's available for the community and to keep us together.
So in the after session email, then can we have I'll share this information. If anybody has any thoughts for the magazine, they can send to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, for sure.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
All right. I'm going to take the ball back, Cindy.
You do that.
And are there any other questions or comments? Cindy. All right, so I think we're going to move on. Oops, I gave it to Heidi. Sorry. There we go. So I think we're going to move on. I'm going to pass the ball back to you, Vicki.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy, for being so candid with us and offering your insight. And Michelle, thank you so much for your support of Cindy. I truly believe the two of you are never confined by a problem, and you always find solutions. You continuously amaze me in your contribution to connecting military families across the country and beyond. And so now I would like to introduce our good friend Laura.
Before we introduce Laura, could we just do this little exercise?
Oh, we have an exercise. Everybody get ready. Here comes the exercise. I hope you're paying attention. Go, Margaret. Margaret loves her exercises.
What word encompasses International Women's Day best for you? Is that opposite of inclusive?
Here we go. Now, Margaret, are you typing these in, or would you like people to do it themselves?
Everybody's been typing in the chat box their words. Margaret, we can't hear you. I think we lost your microphone.
I think we lost Margaret.
Can you hear me speaking, everyone?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect, yes. Margaret, are you back? Margaret, looks like we lost your microphone. So while she's fixing that, if everybody wants to look in the chat box, you can see some of the words that people are coming up with. So we've got, let's see, strength, progress, team, sharing, recognition, strength again, cooperation.
Oh, my tribe, I like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, my tribe, connection, courage, oneness, interconnectedness, connection, empowerment, acknowledgement, listening, confidence, relationships. Those are some amazing words. Margaret, are you back? We can't hear you, hon, so maybe try without your headset and just use your computer.
No?
Oh, there you are.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
You're distant, but there.
Okay. Yeah, so just write your words on.
We lost you again, Margaret.
Lost you, Margaret.
There we go. Okay, so just write your words on the board. Thank you so much for doing that. I can see the words are written on the board now. If you can just write those words there, and we're going to share them in a special way at the after-session email. Tribe, relationships. Oh, there's no life like it. So thank you so much for doing that. You've come up with some really great words. I believe that I'm back now, so we're going to pass it over again to Vicki, who can introduce our friend Laura. Thank you for that little station identification.
So I am incredibly excited to introduce you to Laura Earl. Laura is the owner and principal performer of Blue Poodle Entertainment. I have seen Laura before performing. She is phenomenal. Laura began her entertainment career at the age of 5 when she participated in a Christmas concert. She got her first laugh and she really has not stopped since. Laura has toured around the world as one of the sketch comedy duo Two to Go, and that's been since 1999. She had her first one-woman show, 10 Times a Bridesmaid, Now What?, declared a hit of the Fringe at the Atlantic Fringe Festival, and all the while maintaining jobs in a variety of aspects of media, including private television production, print journalism, and radio and television news. In 2007, CBC Radio 1 featured Laura in a national radio special performing her solo work, I'm an Army Wife, Now What?, loosely based on her first real-life year as a military spouse. I'm an Army Wife, Now What? Sees Laura's fictional character, Lindsay Lloyd, turn her trials on the home front into an endearing and side-splitting look at being an Army wife. The show is absolutely fantastic. If anyone gets a chance to catch it, I totally recommend it. There's nothing like sitting in the audience, watching Laura and knowing she understands completely what your life as a military spouse looks like. It's just hilarious from start to finish. So in September of 2015, Laura brought audiences up to date, debuting the much-anticipated sequel, I'm an Army Wife, Now What?, Revenge of the Bride. Laura currently co-hosts the self-syndicated My FM in the Morning show for 13 radio stations across Ontario. She resides in Halifax with her husband, Chris, and pug Archer, and that's at least until the Army tells her otherwise. So take it away, Laura. We can't wait to hear from you.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Laura.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay? Can everybody give me a check mark if you can hear me?
And Laura, I'm going to pass you the ball so that you can have the...
Thank you. My many years of basketball will come into play tonight. I get the ball. Right on. Okay. First of all, thank you very much to Cindy for asking me to do this, to Vicki, to Margaret for facilitating. It's fantastic to be here this evening. I'm really excited. I am going to talk about boxes, because we move all the time, don't we? And boxes are the key, everyone. Boxes are the key. So that's kind of my little theme that I'm going to run with. I'm going to be going from a bit of a script here, so I'm not going to necessarily be looking directly into the camera as we go, but certainly I'll try to pay attention to hands that go up or anything like that in the side here, but certainly, Margaret, if you want to jump in and poke me if somebody has a question or something, it needs to stop me. So I'm going to talk about my experience as a military spouse and kind of focus on the beginning of the journey and the events that shaped my continuing journey. So it's kind of interesting that this starts today on the 7th of March, because as of the 17th of March, that will be 15 years since the fateful night that hubby and I went on our first date. And I've lost track of how many times I've had to say, I had no idea what I was getting into. Like, no idea what I was getting into. So I, at the time, was a young professional woman. I was working as the morning news anchor for the television station I had grown up watching. That was my educational background. I did broadcast journalism. And nighttime, I was driving back and forth to Toronto performing as one half of a sketch comedy duo in the city's comedy scene. Had a large group of friends, loved spending time with them, lived close to my family, life was good. Then I meet this military guy who is about to be sent back to school for 2 years from his regular forces position. And after a couple of dates, you know, I kind of thought, all right, well, maybe I can do this long distance thing again. I'd done it before when I was a student, you know, why not? He seems pretty interesting. This might have some legs to it, so why not go forth and see what happens. And it wasn't until 2 years later, when we arrived at our first official posting, that the new reality hit home. I had walked away from a headhunter who was offering me my own radio show with an offshoot TV element. I walked away from my friends and family. I walked away from my comedy partner to a province where I could not find a job to save my life. And I had no idea what I had gotten myself into. So looking back at it now, hindsight being 20/20, I realized that I had placed myself in a box. In my mind, I was Laura Earl, the news reporter, the comedian, the friend, the whatever. That's the little box I had put myself in. And here I was, literally surrounded by boxes in Moncton, New Brunswick. And all of these boxes were screaming at me, guess what? You're now Laura Earl, the military man's partner. And up until that point, I had rarely seen my, at the time, boyfriend in his combats. He'd been a student for the first 2 years that we had dated. And I had no idea what all of this talk was about going on exercise this and being deployed that. And so I'm sitting at home, unemployed in our new province for the first time since I had finished school, no job, no friends, and I was going completely stir crazy. So I proceeded to watch the entire first 5 seasons of Sex and the City, which I rented at Blockbuster. So I think I did invent binge watching. You're welcome, Netflix. And then I decided to cook my way through all of Julia Child's The Art of French Cooking. And I can tell you, my honey had the best packed lunches you could possibly imagine. Who takes souffle leftovers? My honey was taking souffle leftovers. So and in the middle of all of this, I'm still thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going a little crazy. I kept sending out my resume for months with little hope of actually landing a job in my field or even finding something full-time or part-time. I just couldn't get a job. And at that point, the little whisper of resentment started in my ear. You liked where you were living. You liked your job. You liked having your family and friends close by. And I didn't know what to do with that little whisper of resentment, that little whisper of bitterness, you know? And then I said to myself, no, it's your choice. You chose to be here. So I secretly made a little pact with myself that I would give it a year. I would give it a year and see how it went, and from there I would decide what I was going to do with this new life I had. And maybe that is how I got out of my box. I no longer started to think about what I had done, but I gave myself a timeline and started thinking about, okay, what could I do with my had done experience? How can I move this ball forward? How can I pick up the box I had put myself in and give it a little shake and see what falls out? And so having worked in the media, I had read hundreds of press releases and from various companies and things, trying to catch the eye of the local news staff, the local news outlet, to get coverage for their event. And so I saw a posting for a short-term position in public relations, and I thought, okay, maybe I could do that. You know, I mean, I'd worked in the field that PR people kept targeting, so maybe I could use some of my insider knowledge. And next thing you know, I got a 3-month contract and felt like I was really kind of back in the game. You know, it's like, okay, I'm working again. This is good. And in that 3 months, I was able to do some networking, able to make some contacts, and eventually get myself an interview in my field, producing a TV news program. And so I thought, okay, back in the box I go. It's the comfortable box. It's the Laura Earl, the TV person box. It's a cozy fit, no need to stretch past my limits. Do what you know was kind of my attitude at that point. And truthfully, again, looking back at it, maybe that is what I really needed at the time, something that felt comfortable while I was unpacking this whole new part of my life as a military partner, kind of trying to figure out what all of the terms are, what all the rules and regulations are, and the gibberish that boyfriend was talking about every night, and you know, how he had to follow them and how I fit into all of that world. And I had been a very independent person up until that point. I decided when I wanted to leave a job and move on to the next challenge. I decided if I wanted to change the scenery and move to a new spot. You know, nobody else was deciding where or when or how I was going to move. So to a certain extent, I wanted to hide that military partner box from my colleagues at this new job that I ended up at. I didn't tell them that my guy was away in Afghanistan. I wanted everything to be as normal as possible. I was still Laura Earl, still the confident career girl, climbing that ladder in the media industry, using the boxes and just keeping them separated, earning that education, that type of thing, you know? And as hard as I tried, I couldn't keep the contents of those 2 boxes separate. Eventually, I was going to have to accept the fact that these 2 boxes of my life were going to get all mixed up, And like so many people before me, it took a really earth-shattering moment for me to allow that to happen, to really kind of see what I was dealing with. So first few months of the job, boyfriend had successfully returned from first trip to Afghanistan. We get engaged. I'm volunteering at the MFRC. I'd started making some new friends. Everything is really going well. And then I get the call. And my dad has been diagnosed with cancer, 2 provinces away. And all I want to do is take that military box and shove it where the sun does not shine and blame them, because now I am living 20 hours away from home. I am feeling helpless. And the little voice comes up again saying, you wouldn't be in this province if it wasn't for the military. You would be closer to home. You would be able to help. This is all their fault. Oh, it's that great little voice, isn't it? That little whisper. So I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do with all of these feelings? I'm going to just put them in a little temporary box and put them in temporary storage, all of these little whispers and feelings of resentment. And nobody wants to know the bingo number on that box. Nobody wants to know the bingo number on that box. So I tried to put it aside. Eventually my dad passed away about 4 months before we got married, and that was the earth-shattering moment for me. That was me having to stop, take that box titled Laura Earl, dump it upside down, spread it out all over the floor, and take a good long look at what I was really dealing with. I was completely lost. What do I do with all of these pieces? How do I fit this all back together? Career, military spouse, performer, and I completely floundered, 100%. I quit my full-time job in television. I took a part-time job as a receptionist at a Pilates studio. Yeah, and I think my new husband thought I had lit my box on fire. Like just, okay, that's it. I'm lighting the box on fire and I'm going to go crazy and do whatever and I don't care. So to a certain extent, I did. I wanted to do more in my life than what I had learned in school. I wanted to figure out how to incorporate this new world of being a military spouse into my old world of being Laura Earl. And that is when I took a leap into the dark off the top of the burning box, and I started my own business. Why not? Hubby was serving in a high-tempo unit. He was home for very short periods of time, and I had nothing to lose. It was time to build the box that I wanted to stand on to see the world from. And so it turned out that my binge watching television was actually a good thing because my unemployment insurance stint made me eligible to participate in an entrepreneur program. And I learned how to write a business plan. I learned that I am horrible at bookkeeping and thankfully found a great accountant in the group of people doing the entrepreneur program. And I started to kind of assemble the pieces of me into a venture called Blue Poodle Entertainment, Communications, and Consulting. And I figure since I am a Gemini, I got to have more than one thing. So I started writing again and got a few short comedy pieces onto the air at my local CBC radio station about my life as an Army wife. And that was the release valve for me of that little box of resentment that I had shoved in the corner. That was my ability, my way to take all those little whispers and to open up the valve and let it out in a productive and a funny way. Just make it funny, look at it from that perspective, turn it on its head, do something different with those little whispers and say, no, you're not going to whisper in my ear anymore because I'm going to make fun of you. I am going to find the humor in this. So that kind of gave me that little bit of confidence back. I started to do some voiceover work for local companies, and did a little bit of television commercial work for some companies here and there. And it was those few contracts that started to help me gain my footing, really, and to integrate what I was really going to eventually come up with. And I think one of the things, and I'm not sure if I did this consciously or unconsciously, but I didn't build any walls around the new company. I let it breathe. I was hoping, based on all of the tools in the Laura Earl box and the weird and wacky experiences in the military wife box, that I could figure out a path. And it was a very brand new venture, so I took pretty much anything I could get because I need to pay some bills. We all do. And so it kind of forced me to keep thinking outside of that box, to test all of those skills that I had in the box. Which ones are going to work, which ones aren't, and go from there and still stand on the box and really be able to see around me what's going on, how can I push myself a little further. Oh, no, obviously I'm not as good at that little thing. Let's bring it back in and focus back on the skill I have. So that said, it took me a while to accept, like it or not, that these two parts of my life did not exist separately in two different boxes anymore. I couldn't help having them cross over. I no longer had control over where I lived or how long I lived there, so I had to build a portable company to match my now portable life. So CBC, eventually the little bits that I wrote turned into the full-blown comedy show, I'm an Army Wife, Now What? Because I had been a bridesmaid 10 times. I had written a show about being a bridesmaid, got married, so my girlfriend said, well, you can't talk about being a bridesmaid anymore. I had all the dresses, all the bridesmaids' dresses. So I still do. And some of them I can still fit into. I would like noted for the record, some of them. So I created this new show and was very, very blessed from a lot of incredibly supportive people across the country who booked me to come and perform for them, and ended up touring all over Canada, and actually have gone down to the States to perform as well. And it was when I got as far as Canadian Forces Base Dundurn in Saskatchewan that I had been to more official bases than hubby has been to. So it was really honestly like group therapy, and continues to be like group therapy for me, being able to laugh at the crazy, crazy, crazy military life with groups of like-minded people. And I had now found my portable tribe. This was my portable tribe. No matter where I was, no matter what far-reaching base, Shiloh, Manitoba, this was my tribe. These were my people, you know? And just making that realization, making that connection with, for the majority, women in the crowd, certainly guys as well, but certainly those, you know, the best part of the show for me is afterwards when the audience comes up and says, oh my gosh, do I have a story for you? You know, like that's really the best part, because it's there, it's that connection, it's that I have been there, I have done that, and knowing we're in this together, you know, it's a big collective crazy military space box we're all in. So let's knock the walls off the box, ladies. Knock the walls off, that's what I'm saying. So I eventually got some gigs doing private web-based television jobs. I did more comedy work. My comedy partner and I, the picture that's on the screen right now, that's my comedy partner, Daryl. He'll love me for putting this picture up. He and I ended up performing at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland, the original Fringe Festival, which was a huge highlight for us. And, you know, like just getting that vigor back and getting that drive back and really making an effort to integrate this other part of my life into what I was now doing. So, and along the way, I have to say I'm very blessed to have a spouse who understood that I needed to figure out this new life on my own terms. I needed to figure out how to control the whispers, how to deal with the whispers, how to build a new life that I would be happy with, satisfied with. And it has not been easy. You know, major financial sacrifices when you run your own business, absolutely. I lost a steady paycheck, but you know what I gained? I gained that ability to stay sane, to see outside of the little box I had built for myself and kind of blow up who I thought I was, almost, in a sense. And along with that, I've figured out how to make this business work for me. Right now, I have an ongoing contract to co-host the morning show with My FM, and it's been fantastic. I got the job when we were posted to Petawawa. They have a brick and mortar radio station in Pembroke, Petawawa, and because they are a company that also thinks outside the box, around the box, on top of the box, beside the box when it comes to radio, when I said to them, I'm married to the military and we're about to be moved, they said, okay, well, I guess you just do the job from where you are then. What? I'm moving and I get to keep my job? Huh? Foreign to me. And so here I am in Halifax, And not a lot of people know that, so don't tell anybody. Ouch. Okay. So, you know what? I still have clients from 9 years ago when we were in Moncton that will send me projects with a little note saying, "So where are you now, Laura?" with a question mark, because they know it's just keeping it fluid, keeping an open mind of what a quote-unquote job can be. And I look to integrate my new life. I mean, I went to the extreme of integrating my military life, obviously, by writing a comedy show about it, by creating educational videos with MFRCs across the country, you know, those types of things. So I definitely took it as far as I could, and that's not for everyone. But I have to say it's been absolutely fascinating. Cindy gave me the chance to interview some military spouses to our entrepreneurs as well. And everything ranging from a virtual office manager who functions in one province and has clients around the world to a specialist in bra fitting for cancer survivors. You know, like they stepped out of their box of conventional job and they took all of the skills that they had collected over the years to create their dream jobs. And some of them, you know, it happened for them after the kids were out of the house. Some of them are still managing a household with toddlers in them. And it's just so inspiring to see that. And there have been moments where I wanted to jump back into the safe little box of full-time work. Absolutely. I have found myself on websites reading listings out to my husband, and then I stop and think about what getting back in that box would mean for me. Have there been moments when I've wanted to tell my husband's career manager, no, I like this spot. I like that I have built a network here. Leave us alone. Absolutely. And then I remind myself that this life, the boxes are meant to move around. So who knows what the next location is going to bring? Maybe it'll be bigger and better. I don't know. Do I find it harder to make friends because I work for myself from home? Absolutely. I'm always needing to remind myself to leave the house. It's just another box. Your house is just another box. Get out of that box, you know? Do I think that everybody needs to find their own creative release valve for the stress of military life like I did? Absolutely. Write a poem. Keep a journal. Sing karaoke. Knit a scarf. I don't know what it is for you, but Brene Brown is somebody who I very greatly admire her work, and she wrote, "The only unique contribution that we ever make in this world will be born out of our creativity." Find your release valve. Don't put that box with the whispers in the corner because you don't want to open it. So find that method of breaking that box open for yourself. And I guess I'll close by saying, do I need to remind myself every once in a while to give my box a little shake to see what happens, to take a look at it? Yeah, absolutely I do. I am 42 years old. I am 8 months pregnant with our first child. So I think I have I'm about to shake that box up, ladies. I am shaking the life out of that box.
Don't shake it too hard.
No, I know.
Don't shake right now.
I got a little further to go. So
fantastic.
That's my story, everyone. At least up until, you know, that's kind of up to this point.
That's excellent. Laura, you're always such an incredible inspiration. You just always make everyone around you laugh at this crazy life, and you're so appreciated. Does anyone have questions for Laura? She's got an amazing story. Let's ask her about it. You can raise your hand, or you can just simply ask in the chat.
And I would tell you I'm living the glamorous life because there's literally, there's a pile of laundry right beside me. If I turn the camera, there's a pile of unfolded laundry.
How did you choose Blue Poodle for the name?
So when my husband was deployed for the first time in Afghanistan, he was, you know, phoning home from a massive trailer full of other people with no soundproofing whatsoever, and we were trying to figure out a way to say, "I love you." And the first thing that popped into his head, he goes, "Blue Poodle." Like, you are like dehydrated? Are you dehydrated? Is that? So when it came to the company name, I thought, oh, that's great, but we don't have a poodle. We have a pug, and he might try and scratch at the door.
That's fantastic.
It's wacky in my world.
So what Joanna is asking, what's your single best piece of advice for someone wanting to do something out of the box in their current life?
Oh, wow. Something that scares you. Something that scares you. The very first night I performed the show on stage, I was in Gagetown, and I was performing for a group of military spouses who had just gone through a very long, very difficult deployment to Afghanistan, and I was scared silly. I actually turned to somebody backstage and said, I think I'm going to vomit. And I got out there and I did it, and they were the most receptive, fantastic group I could have possibly stood in front of, and it scared the life out of me, and that's what I needed to do. I needed to scare myself silly to get out of that box and to just shake it loose. Yeah.
And Cindy says you did an awesome job in Petawawa in 2009.
Oh, thanks.
I saw you in Greenwood. You were amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. And you know, I have all of these incredible military spouses to thank for encouraging me and for sharing their stories with me. The majority of the stories are based about my life, but there are a number of them that I've thrown in there from friends who have been gracious and kind enough to share those stories with me. So I was able to kind of fill out some more characters in the show. So it's been a real adventure. And the new show, Revenge of the Bride. I was going to call it either Pin the Tail on the Posting or Revenge of the Bride. And I went with Revenge of the Bride. But the next show, I guess, I might call Army Brat. I'm not sure.
Right. So you'll be able to integrate the new Army Brat into the show.
Yes. Yes, there will be a new character. And so far, with all the kicking, I'm thinking it's going to be a character for sure.
Very good. Very good. Any more questions?
Margaret, that's perfect timing.
Yes. So Karen.
Hello.
Are you on the call now? Hello. We're just finishing up with Laura.
Yes, I'm on the call.
That's perfect
How are you doing,
timing.
Laura? Good.
Hi.
We just finished 3 votes in the House, and now I'm driving back to the constituency for a community association meeting.
All right. Fantastic. We're just going to wrap up with Laura, and then we're going to come to you, Karen.
Okay.
So are there any more questions for Laura? Thank you so much, Laura. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, Karen.
Yes.
So Karen is with us via teleconference like the rest of us, and she wasn't sure whether she was going to be able to make it today because she had 3 votes at the Parliament tonight. But she is here on the call. And what I thought I'd do, Karen, before we introduce you and before we go into your recording, I thought I would share the leadership exercise that you spoke of. Would that be okay if I did that virtually?
Oh, sure, of course.
Wonderful. Okay, so when I had the privilege of listening to Karen McCrimmon's talk today for International Women's Day, and she had a question. The question was, raise your hand if you can tell me if you are a leader. So raise your hand if you are a leader in your community. Put up your hand. Your hands are on the right-hand side of the screen. The right hand. So we have 1. Okay. Raise your hand. Lisa is a leader. Very good. Joanna is a leader. Okay. So Karen, we have about 20 participants on the call today, and we have 4 leaders in our midst. Okay, so let's put your hands down for just 1 moment. Thank you. All right, now I would like to ask you, who has moved more than twice in their world and had to recreate community? Raise your hand if you've moved more than twice and had to recreate your community. Keep your hands up, please. Raise your hand if you are a parent. Raise your hand if you have ever volunteered in your community in any regard whatsoever. Ever been a volunteer in your community? Keep your hands up the whole time. Keep your hands up. So if you're volunteered, if you've ever moved more than twice, if you're a parent. And now what I see is almost 20 hands are up now, Karen. So we had 4 people. Yep. So I'm really looking forward to showing the video in a moment so that we can elaborate on this particular exercise that leaders are everywhere. And on that note, I'm going to, thank you. I'm going to pass the ball to Vicki to introduce you, Karen, and then we will have your recording for about four minutes. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Great. Drive carefully and keep on the phone because we'll stay for questions. Over to you, Vicki.
Thank you, Margaret. So a Canadian Forces pioneer, the Honourable Karen McCrimmon honed her leadership and team building abilities in the service of her country. She joined the Canadian Forces as a reservist, and after graduating with a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Windsor, she transferred to the Reg Force, where she quickly rose through the ranks. In 1981, she became an air navigator, the first woman to earn that qualification. Absolutely excellent. In 1998, Karen was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and appointed Commanding Officer of 429 Transport Squadron in Trenton, becoming the first woman to command a Canadian Forces flying squadron. After retiring from the CF in 2006, she started her own business, offering mediation services to public and private institutions. She's been an active member of the Canadian Federation of University Women, the Royal Canadian Legion, and Canadian Women in Aviation, an organization focused on encouraging more women to become involved in the aviation industry. She also believes that our success as a nation has and will continue to be achieved through mutual respect, cooperation, and dialogue. She lives in Canada, Carleton with her husband. The Honourable Karen McCrimmon is currently the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Veterans Affairs and Associate Minister of National Defence. And she had 3 votes that she had to do. Now she's on her way home and or off to a meeting, actually, because she never stops. And we knew we'd be a bit delayed with speaking to Karen, but now that we have her on the phone, we're going to play a video for you. And that she had pre-recorded just in anticipation of not being able to make it tonight. So we'll play the recording. Margaret, if you would do that, that'd be fantastic. And then Karen can take some questions.
Fantastic. I love the virtual world. So in order to play the recording, we ask you to mute your microphone, please, so we don't hear feedback. And you don't have to touch the video. I'll do all the work. And just give us a green check when you're back because we'll be watching it at different times. So mute your microphone, please, and I'll give you the 4-minute video.
Mute up my microphone.
You don't have to mute yours. There we go.
Do you want Karen to mute hers? My name is Karen McCrimmon.
I think someone closed out the recording.
Okay, that's not working. You're having technical difficulties. Just a moment, please. We'll try it a different way. Isn't that interesting? Okay, just a minute, please. Let's see.
Margaret, we lost it again.
Okay, I'm just going to try to put it on one more time. Sorry about that.
Hi, my name is Karen McCrimmon, and I'm really pleased to be able to join you today.
Thank you so much. Karen, are you still there on the line?
I am.
Very good. So she's available for questions. We can clear out this audio. There we go.
Okay. Thank you, Karen, so much for being on the road, and I hope you're driving safely. And are there any questions for Karen? She talked about leadership, that we need to celebrate women in leadership, and that we were all leaders. Any questions at all for her? So was it a hard decision to enter politics? Harder than entering the military?
You know, it was a sense of responsibility that had me get involved in politics. It really did. I felt I wasn't, without getting too political, I wasn't happy the direction we were going as a country, and I signed on to serve and protect the country, and it didn't matter whether I was in uniform or not. So that's what drove me to get involved in politics.
Joanna, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I more of just a comment that, you know, when I hear someone, you know, with such a great and amazing career as yours, and then to hear you say that someone actually said to you that you didn't look like a leader, I think I probably speak for a lot of women on this call, you know, as women in business or women who are moving all the time and having to get into new careers and new jobs, like how many times we've confronted that sentiment that we don't, you know, maybe we don't look like leaders, or, you know, because we're women or what have you. And so just, it's encouraging to know and see someone like you, you've experienced that, you've struggled with that, you've overcome it and built this amazing existence. And so I just want to thank you for that, because as you make those strides, you make them for all of us. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for that. But, you know, that's what leaders do, right? Leaders don't develop more followers. Leaders, part of their role is to develop more leaders. And if I do nothing else in this whole this career and my military career to get more women and more young people to see themselves as leaders and be willing to step up and stand up and, you know, take on that mantle, then I will consider it a life well lived.
Very good. Anyone else have a question?
I have a comment, Vicki.
Mm-hmm.
It's Margaret. So actually, you're the one that said that we grow when we move outside our comfort zone. And so Karen, you spoke to going outside of our comfort zone and facing the fear. Laura spoke with getting outside of the box and, you know, doing something that scares you to really you know, find yourself. And Cindy also spoke about, you know, starting up a magazine and how far out of her box out of her comfort zone did she have to go. And these are you're all incredible leaders, and so it's really important just to have a goal and to make that difference, and we grow when we move outside our comfort zone. I love that. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But you know what? You don't go anywhere alone, right? You take your team with you. And I've had a wonderful team. Like, you know, Rhonda, who's sitting with me here tonight, she's been with me for years. And that's what it takes. And all of us women, I think we get that. And we need to encourage that and be there for each other, because it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments for Karen?
Oh, I see Laura has a question.
Oh, there's one more.
One more, if you have a moment, Karen. Laura would like to know, how can we be leaders in our own lives?
Oh, I mean, that's such a good question. And I think that's something that we all struggle with, right? To find that balance. But I mean, mothers are leaders. I mean, you know, here's the little thing. I think leadership is based on trust. And I think about trust in terms of a bank account. And this has helped me over the years. So you make deposits to your trust bank account because as a leader, it has to be full. You got to have a solid trust bank account in order to lead. So you make those deposits by being consistent, by being there, by you know, doing what you say you're going to do, by letting people know that you're there to serve and, you know, to pitching in when help is needed. Because the only people who don't make mistakes are people who don't do anything. Okay, we're all going to make a mistake, but if your trust bank account is full, there'll be room to make a withdrawal because you've made a mistake and there's still lots of trust there. So I think just think about it in terms of having a trust bank account and making daily deposits into that trust bank account. And it grows over time.
Very good.
I like that idea. And Karen, we're going to be sending an after-session email, and we're going to be sharing the comments from the chat, and you're going to be thrilled with all of the feedback that you're getting from your recording.
I'll tell you, it is my honor to be here. Right? I know what we all have gone through, and what we are going through right now. So if there's anything I can do to make that and that's one of my things as Parliamentary Secretary of Veterans, is put the family issue, get it in there, because it wasn't in there very strongly before, but now people are starting to get it. So I'm honored to be here with you tonight. So.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to sign off now because I have another group of people who are waiting to see me. And anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for having me on tonight. And if there's anything I can do, just reach out. I'll do whatever is in my power and to try and make a difference.
And a huge thanks to Rhonda and Randy as well.
All right. I'll pass that on. Rhonda's here, and I'll pass that on to Randy.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Margaret and Laura and the whole Vicki and the whole team, Cindy. So anyway, I'll look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
All right. Thank you,
Karen.
All right. Take good care.
Oh, goodness. So that's 3 incredible leaders in our community. And you know what? When we look around the room of who's in here, we all are leaders in one way or another. Absolutely. I totally believe that. So are there any questions or comments for any of the speakers today? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat a link to a fluid survey. And it's only 6 questions. It won't take you very long. And if you could double click on that link and fill that in now before you leave. And then when you come back, I'd like to give me a green check when you're ready. We'll draw for door prizes. So if you can double click on the link in the chat for me, please. And fill in this short evaluation for us so that we can continually to improve our presentations.
Margaret?
Yes.
That link is taking us to your login page.
Okay, well then don't worry about the link. We'll do the door prizes now if you can come back. And by coming back, you click on the blue and green ball at the bottom of your screen, and that will bring you right back, and I'll send it in an after-session email. So we're very, very thankful to have a few door prizes tonight. And the first draw was for the 30th person to register for the session. And that honor goes to Heidi Piotrowski. You are the 30th to register for our session tonight, which is really exciting because the virtual world is still relatively new. 30 people registering for a session is quite a bit, and we're very excited that we had so many people here, so we'll make sure that gets to you. There's also a random draw. Would you like to explain it, Vicki, of the wooden family game?
Oh, sure. We have a 7-in-1 wooden family games box. You can see it on the left of your screen. This is a very high quality games box that we really hope that you will enjoy with your military family or with your extended family in your home. And this is compliments of Military Family Services. And we certainly hope that everyone who participated this evening had a wonderful time. And we're going to get Margaret to draw for that.
And the winner for that one is Beverly Post. Congratulations, Beverly.
Congrats, Beverly, and congratulations, Heidi.
And we have one more prize to draw, and it's a $30 Canucks gift card. And we'll have the drum roll, please.
The best we can do, like, you know.
There we go. And Tracy Rach is the winner of that prize.
Congratulations to Tracy.
Yes. So we'll be in touch with an after-session email and also the recording of the session once the presenters have seen it. If it's okay to share, we will also be sharing the recording. I apologize about the video. It got a little bit wonky there. You never know what's going to happen with the virtual world. And also, when we send you the after-session email, I will send you a short evaluation. If you could please fill it out, it would be very helpful for us to continue to improve. If there's no more questions, to exit out of the session, you just click on the red X on the top right-hand side of the screen, and we'll be here if you have any questions or you want to chat with us. We're here. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cindy, Laura, and of course, Karen McCrimmon. Thank you so much.
So